going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we're going to see what the GM, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, had to say about J.J. McCarthy. He was showing him all types of love, and he's got some awesome quotes about the new quarterback one in here in Minnesota. And then also, head coach Kevin O'Connell talked about Harrison Smith, and he also kind of spilled the beans on how Harrison Smith told him that he was going to come back for one more season. But before we dive into it, if you guys could help us out and help us reach 55,500 subscribers here on YouTube, I can't believe we have crossed over 55,000. The support you guys show on the channel is truly unbelievable. But hey, if you guys want to help us reach our next milestone, we just need 135 more of you guys to go down there, hit that subscribe button. We post a video around your Minnesota Vikings every single day. So hit that sub button today, and let's dive into today's show. So first off, Kwesi, at the owners' meeting down there in Florida, he was asked a bunch of questions around the Minnesota Vikings, and he was obviously asked about J.J. McCarthy. How's he doing? How do you view him? What sold you on J.J. McCarthy being the guy? And, he was showing him all types of love. And this is what, first he had to say, saying, we're excited about J.J. McCarthy. Obviously, he had an injury setback, but we're excited about everything he's done from that point, and we're going to go forward with that. He's been in a great spot. Every checkpoint he's exceeded. Every throwing session. Every workout. I mean, the kid is so detailed and process-oriented. He looks great right now. He approached everything with a can-do and unbelievable mentality to approach every task to be the best version of himself. And, all this stuff coming out about JJ, like how he is process-oriented, detail-oriented, and all the national media, and even like Vikings GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, it seems like they're finally, you know, telling the world on how special JJ is truly as a person. Like, obviously, I think he's going to be fantastic out there on the football field. He's got a live arm. He's got every tangible you would want at that quarterback position. But the guy right here, in between the ears, his mentality, his process is what I think will separate him from being a good quarterback to a great quarterback. And that's why I think the Vikings and J.J. McCarthy are a perfect marriage. Like, you have Kevin O'Connell, a very process-oriented guy. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, process-oriented guy. I mean, when they had their introductory press conference, those two probably said the words process-oriented 100 times. And when you have J.J. McCarthy, he's built the same way. He has the kind of same, process with going through everything in life. And it just really seems like the Vikings, their whole brass, J.J. McCarthy, it is truly a perfect marriage. But this was a pretty cool quote from Kwesi. Just talking about J.J. and how they identified him in the draft process. This is a little longer one, so stay with us. But he said, somebody that we identified in the draft process last year. Somebody not just from an arm talent, athleticism, just the work ethic. We talk a lot about leadership and having your quarterback embody what your culture is. He's somebody with a positive attitude, the way he cares about his teammates, all those different things that we want to be our starting quarterback for a long time. I want to chase this thing with Kev, him, myself, the alignment we have together. So we're excited about him and what he's brought. Obviously, he had an injury and a setback, but we're excited about everything that he's done from that point. We're going to go forward with that. We're going to look to always add depth to that room to upgrade it, but we set out to build the type of team that's very quarterback friendly to a young player from a running game and defensive standpoint. A lot of the moves we made was with that in mind. And listen, this whole Vikings offseason, their number one goal was to make J.J. McCarthy's life easier. Because I think, and this is my also big gripe I have with people who cover the NFL, and especially when it comes to just, picking games or seeing who's going to be the best team. I think people would just naturally just be like, oh, it's a head coach quarterback league. And yes, that is true. Those are the two most important kind of positions on a roster. But I think any given Sunday, it's what quarterback has the easier job? What quarterback looked good that Sunday? And if the Vikings can build a support system where you're giving them a run game, where you're giving them an elite defense, like J.J. McCarthy's life compared to, let's just say like even a guy like Joe Burrow, where he doesn't have the defense. Yes, he has the weapons, but does he have the offensive line or the defense that J.J. McCarthy will be thrown into? Absolutely not. So I think the Vikings, and it also gets me upset with all this Aaron Rodgers nonsense, where people were saying like, oh, maybe the Vikings are backloading all these contracts to go all in on this like 1 year Super Bowl window. Like the Super Bowl window for the Vikings is every single season that J.J. McCarthy is on this roster. Like, he is that special, and I think the whole offseason was just the Vikings trying to make his life easier. And, we can start off with the run game here. You know, obviously biggest gripe with Kevin O'Connell is his inability, or I guess his kind of not want to run the ball consistently, but we did see an uptick this past season, getting over 100 rushing yards per game, which was 19th in the National Football League. But we know JJ, he had a great run game his senior year at IMG. He had a great run game when he was at Michigan. But the thing I love about McCarthy, too, is a lot of people thought his game at Michigan was a lot of just checkdowns, playing within the offense, which he did for, some of the time, but also on these 3rd and 7 situations, like J.J. McCarthy was fantastic, one of the best quarterbacks of all time in college football history at 3rd and long situations. And how do you improve the run game? You go add an elite offensive line, and you add 2 elite offensive linemen. And why I'm so big on the Ryan Kelly Will Fries pickup is because I think continuity and chemistry is huge among offensive linemen, and you grab 2 guys who played together last season who already have that chemistry, and then you plug them right next to Brian O'Neill, Blake Brandel, Christian Darrisaw, where those 3 guys already have chemistry. I think the Vikings, their offensive line, it's not going to take time to develop compared to like a Bears offensive line where they traded for 1 guy, signed 2 other guys, or traded for 2 guys, signed another guy where all 3 of those guys played in different systems. So I think it's going to be harder for them to just catch up to speed. But, the one thing I'm going to have a close eye on this year, because I got full confidence in the defense being top 5. I know what Jefferson's going to bring. I know what McCarthy's going to bring. I know what Hawkinson's going to bring to the table. But I'm going to have a close eye on this run game. And mainly Kevin O'Connell, because I think you got the running backs. You got the offensive line. Like, if there's any part of Kevin O'Connell that is on the hot seat, it is his ability to run the football. So, especially during the first 2 months of the season, like, if the Vikings aren't able to run the ball, one, I would be incredibly concerned because then I think it would be a coaching issue and not a personnel issue, which, I think over the past couple of years, you could chalk it up to being a personnel issue, with shaky interiors, shaky running back play. But now you got 2 good running backs. You got a good offensive line. It's just going to come down to Kevin O'Connell if the Vikings will have a top 10 run game this next season. But I'll ask you guys this, prediction time. Will the Vikings have a top 10 run game next season? Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I think they will. I'm going to take the optimistic view here. I think Kevin O'Connell is going to be addicted to running the football this next season. But speaking about KOC, he was talking about a legend, a fan favorite, Harrison Smith, at the owners' meeting this past week. And what he had to say is just absolutely awesome. So we'll dive into that here in a second. But first, I got to tell you guys where you can get a J.J. McCarthy jersey today. And if you hit that link, chatsports.com/Vikings jersey, you guys can get a McCarthy jersey, Jefferson jersey. Any jersey you could want is available at that link right there, chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. Got that link for you guys in the comment section and description of today's show. But go get those 9 jerseys, man. They're going to be sweet. I'm going to be rocking them on game day every single game this year. So if you guys want a McCarthy jersey today, hit that link, chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. All right, let's dive into it. Kevin O'Connell on the hitman, Harrison Smith, Vikings legend, one of the most underrated safeties in NFL history. And he was just talking about his relationship with Harry. How did Harry break the news that he was coming back? And it was funny. This is what Harrison Smith texted Kevin O'Connell. He just goes, "Hey, boss man, I think I got one more in me." Just the most Harrison Smith response. Like, he's not going to make a big deal about it. He's not going to go have some lengthy post on social media where it's like, after a lot of, thinking, I really think it's right for me to come back, yada, yada, yada. Like, that's not how Harry rolls. He's straight to the point, and he just said, "Hey, boss man, I got one more year left in me," and hopefully the Vikings can go get that man a Super Bowl in this 2025 season. But this is also what Kevin O'Connell had to say about Harrison Smith and just their relationship, saying, "I gave him his space. If I call or text him, we are not going to talk about football until he's ready." So there may have been a couple of golf texts here and there, a couple of calls to check in on all of the things happening in the world. And, one, I think it's just awesome, the relationship that Kevin O'Connell and Harrison Smith have. Like, KOC truly views Harrison Smith as, another coach on this staff. Like, he views him as, just that veteran, that leader in the locker room, which we all know he is. But I think the off-the-field impact that Harrison Smith has can't be measured. And what he does for these younger guys, like the Theo Jacksons, the Josh Metellus, I mean, even Cameron Bynum, what he had to say about Harrison Smith this past season, just giving him all types of love. And I'm sure these younger cats in this locker room are like, "Oh, man, that guy's been doing it for 14-plus seasons. He's been a Viking his whole life. He has been the definition of what it means to be a Minnesota Vikings player." And also his contract for this next season, a lot of people are freaking out. Like, "Oh, he's on the books for $9.9 million, $4.3 in 2026. Honestly, if that was $19 million, I couldn't care because, yes, is he the same guy that he was when he was, making all pros and he was really that leader of that Mike Zimmer defense? No, but he's still impactful out there on the football field. But I think what he brings off the field really can't be measured. And, when we see all these other secondary players kind of upping their game, I think Harrison Smith gets some credit for that. And his career stats are ridiculous, man. I mean, he's just racking them up. Over 1,100 tackles in his NFL career. And we know the versatility with the hitman, 20 and a half sacks, 37 interceptions, and 4 touchdowns as well. And, you know, being the optimistic, young, drinking purple Kool-Aid Vikings fan that I am, I was thinking Super Bowl. And if there is one player, like from the bottom of my heart, and honestly, one person in the entire world that I would want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl, it would be the Hitman. I would be incredibly happy. Just everything he's been through on this Vikings team. Like back in 2017, going to the NFC Championship, having a game in Philadelphia to get yourself a home Super Bowl, and they get blasted in that game. All the heartbreak that, us Vikings fans have gone through for the last, 15 seasons. Imagine how it feels to actually be on the team. Imagine how it feels to be Harrison Smith when you work your tail off every year, but you still haven't been able to play in that big time game. So hopefully the Vikings can get it done this season, and Harrison Smith, we can hopefully see him just playing in a Super Bowl. Nothing would truly make me happier for this Vikings team. But hey, if you appreciate Harrison Smith, show Harrison Smith some love down below in the comment section. Type his jersey number. Type those 22s. We got one more year with Harry, man, and I couldn't be more excited to watch him play. So type his jersey number down below. And also, you guys can hit me up on Twitter. @PatSieps is the Twitter handle. Give me a follow over there. Give you guys a follow right on back. We'll see you guys next time. As always, go Vikes.